Hello everyone and welcome back to another Marvel Crisis Protocol Battle Report for the channel, and today in this 19 threat match we're back in Asgard for one, but two, we're seeing the debut of the Hellfire Club affiliation. I think it's still counted as an affiliation. It's one of those weird ones where you have to play a certain tactics card to be given the affiliation and the associated passive bonus for the leader, who is Emma Frost. So she'll be making her debut today as well alongside Psylocke. We can cover more of that though in a second. So here is our Hellfire Club this time, at least. So you have to bring Emma Frost, and then you have to bring one of our tactics cards to make it the affiliation. But along with her, to make up the 19, we have Psylocke, who is in the same box as her. We have Magic, and her brother, Colossus, and then also the original version of Wolverine. So their tactics cards, my Hellfire Club, that is the one you have to bring if you want to use this affiliation. Mind Transfer, Fastball Special, Silent Constructs, and Crimson Dawn. And throughout the match, it is possible that Emma Frost will turn into her diamond form. It's a separate miniature, and she turns back at the end of her turn, but I believe she can reactively use it if attacked, because the defenses are different to her normal. But she's less focused on mental attacks, or mystic rather, and more focused on physical, because she hits much harder when she's made of diamond, as it turns out. So that's for them. Let's head over to the Asgardians. So there's also 5 miniatures in the Asgardians, but there is 2 heavy hitters here. We have Thor and his sister, so we have Angela here, and making up the rest of the points, we have Valkyrie over there, we have Heimdall, and we have Scourge. We come down here for their tactics cards: Odin's Blessing, Weapons of Midgard, Advanced R&D, Rainbow Bridge, and Brace for Impact. So it is the Secure that's being played this time. The Demons Downtown has our come due. This is basically the same. I think it's the only thing that might have changed is the timing of applying the Incinerate. It's now during the power phase for everyone within 1 of a portal. I think it was in cleanup last time. I don't quite remember, but not much difference there. The Extraction though is very different. This is the alien ship crashes downtown, which before was the piles of rubble with the 1 Kree power core that was always an absolute nightmare to find. Well, that's different now. There's 3 power cores. You don't need to search for them. They are just power cores. They're worth 1 VP each if you're holding them in the cleanup phase. You interact with them to pick them up. You can only hold 1 at a time. And during the cleanup phase, if you have 3 or more power when you're holding one of them, you roll 3 dice, and for each... Is that Skull and Wild? I need to bring it closer to my face, apologies. Yes, Skull and Wild. In the result, the character holding the power core is, and all characters within range 2 suffer 1 damage. So very, very different to the old version of this Crisis card. I think the deployment style is the same for them though, if we just pull back here. So we have our 3 flaming portals in a line there, and then 3 cores, 1 over there, 1 in the middle. It's just slightly off center to show that they're both there, and then 1 on that flank of the table as well. And just like that, we're here with deployment done. The Asgardians are to your right and the Hellfire Club is on your left. We'll cover the Hellfire Club affiliation bonus as and when it happens. Emma Frost can use it once per round, and depending on whether or not her teammates are contesting or holding objectives, it does different things. So using it at the right possible time for either her advantage or their advantage is important. So we can look at where everyone is. We have Angela down here off on her lonesome. She's a bit of a powerhouse, so it doesn't really affect her too much. Thor with Scourge, and then Heimdall with Valkyrie up there. The Asgardians will be going first as well. And then over here, the Hellfire Club has deployed mostly together, so Emma Frost, Colossus, and Wolverine over here, and then a little bit awkwardly in this corner here we have Magic and Psylocke. So with that, into battle round 1. Let's get this started. So the round 1, getting into position and clamouring for objectives, started with Valkyrie for the Asgardians. She moved up medium and then just enough to get within range 1 of the left flank power core, and paid 1 over 2 power that Asgardians start with to pick it up. For the Hellfire Club, it was Colossus to get the game started. He only moved small, but with that bigger base allowed him to still cover enough distance to get into the middle of the table, pay 1 power and pick up the core there. He is also within 1 of the flaming portal, so he's helping to hold that. Making use of her long movement, Angela activated down here, moved long, and then enough to get on the far side of the power core on this side of the table. Still within 1 of it though, so she could pay 1 of her 2 power to pick it up. So that is all 3 power cores now in the possession of people on the table, but only 1 portal still has someone next to it. That's Colossus. Wolverine activated next for the Hellfire Club and moved up medium twice to help Colossus keep that middle portal, or yeah, it is a portal, isn't it? Well, it's a demon portal, it's a portal to you know where. He's holding that now. A lot of people are going to end up getting incinerated in this one. That's just the way it goes when Demons Downtown gets played as one of the Crisis cards. Thor activated, and it wasn't exactly a great start for the God of Thunder. He did move up 1, so he's still within 1 of that back portal there. Paid 1 of his 2 power to chuck his hammer at Wolverine. He had 1 success. Luckily, it doesn't need to do damage to apply the shock, so he at least got that through, but no damage done. Emma Frost activated. She's a medium move, and she used that first as her first action to move up here within 1 of the portal here, and that just put her in range 4 of Angela over here. So she did her basic attack, 5 dice mystic, range 4 psionic spike, I think it's called her psychic spike. If she gets a wild and a hit, she can also force the target to move small. Unfortunately, she did get 2 hits in the roll, but it was only 2 hits, not wilds, so no extra there. And Angela's 4 mystic defense meant that she took no damage, so also not a great start. Both leaders are doing bad. Heimdall started the game around the back of that house there. He cut the corners best he could with 2 medium moves, which got him that close to the central portal. Not enough to be contesting it, and unable to do any attacks. Well, a bit stuck on the wrong flank of the table. Magic activated and moved medium twice around this house here. Considered spending the 1 power she started with the limbo step 1 more, but it's not like it's going to get her to contest the middle or anything like that, so it seemed better to potentially hold on to it, either for her for next turn, or if Emma Frost uses the affiliation bonus, it can actually help her. On that note, she doesn't need to be the one to activate it. It is at the end of any friendly activation, so there's still 1 more chance for her to decide to use it. Already to the last activation, battle round 1 for the Asgardians. It was Scourge. He moved up medium to put him there. He isn't within range 2 to attack Wolverine. He doesn't want to get within range 1 of either portal, because if he does it there, he's not going to outnumber them. If he does it there, Thor's the only one holding it anyway. So his other action is that he's going to do that. He's going to shift forwards ever so slightly, not within 1, because he doesn't want to get set on fire in the end phase, but that does mean he's in a better position next turn to potentially get a couple of attacks off. So the last activation in total for battle round 1 was Psylocke for the Hellfire Club. She just moved up medium, kind of facing down Valkyrie, but you'll notice there's some damage there. Did decide to use the Hellfire Club affiliation bonus, so let's talk about it now. So once per round, at the end of a friendly activation, you can choose to use it, or rather Emma Frost chooses to use it. Any other allied characters contesting or holding an objective, so in this case Colossus and Wolverine, they gain 1 power and can heal 1 damage if they were missing any, which they weren't. Any characters not contesting or holding an objective, which was Magic and Psylocke, they lose 1 power, suffer 1 damage, and then Emma Frost gains that power and would also gain that health if she was missing any health. So they both lost 1 power, she's gained 2 power, they've lost 2 health, she didn't gain anything because she was at full health. It might not be the best bet, but it does kind of pump her up at the end of the next power phase for potentially doing a big attack, or doing a bunch of superpowers. Might be worth it, might not be. This is a new affiliation to the table. Obviously, you've got to learn when the right times are to use this. It's a very interesting, selective affiliation bonus. So we're just trying to see what happens, and that does take us to the end of the first round. So here's how things stand at the end of battle round 1. There is no one that has a power core that has 3 or more power. Oh, actually, did that process in the cleanup phase, or was it in the power phase? It's in the power phase. Oh no, it is the cleanup phase. Fair enough. Because if it was the power phase, the Asgardians would have more than 3 power. So no, nothing with the power cores this time around. But we can go over the scoring and then also who's been incinerated by the flaming portals. So the Asgardians, they hold 2 of the 3 power cores and the back portal over there for a total of 3 victory points. The Hellfire Club, they hold 2 portals and 1 power core. So everyone is even with 3 victory points apiece, and everyone within 1 of a portal has become incinerated. So that's Emma Frost, Colossus, Wolverine, Thor, and that's it. Yep, because Scourge stayed out of range on purpose. So we're going to battle round 2, Asgardians keeping first activation, gaining a lot of power as well. Let's see what happens. With all that incinerate, it's going to be painful, I think. So battle round 2 got started with Scourge activating for the Asgardians. He didn't end up moving at all. He immediately spent the 4 power he had from the 2 power gain in the first power phase, 2 now as well, on the Executioner, range 3, which meant he could reach Colossus. So he went after Colossus because he's holding a power core. 8 dice physical, guaranteed bleed, although Colossus is immune to that. 4 damage done, reduced down to 3 because of his metal organic skin, and hurt him pretty bad thanks to that incinerate. Then, for lack of anything better to do, he opted not to move in. He instead just did his basic range 2 Builder on Wolverine, and with his Incinerate and an appalling defense roll, managed to do 2 damage. Although it's worth pointing out, every single attack roll, regardless of side, has been garbage so far. I don't think there's been a single wild. It's all been a couple of hits, 1 or 2 hits, and that's it. Psylocke was first up for the Hellfire Club in Battle Round 2, and she started with a range 4 dice Mystic Psy Bow, and as long as she gets a hit, Pursuit kicks in, which lets her move small towards the person she targeted. So she targeted Scourge, actually got him pretty well with it for 3 damage. So she moved small towards him, which put her roughly adjacent to the corner of that house there. And then for her other action, she medium moved into contesting range of that central flaming portal. Then, when her activation ended, decided to use the Hellfire Club affiliation bonus. Bit sudden, but it seems like the best time, because only Magic took 1 damage and lost her 1 power, which the 1 power went to Emma Frost. Everyone else healed 1, gained 1 power. So Colossus healed 1, Wolverine healed 1, Psylocke healed the 1 she took at the end of the last turn, and they all gained 1 power, giving them more to play with or react with. So it seems like that 1-2 punch of doing it towards the end of a 1 round and then near the start of another once you're in position seems like a good bet. Valkyrie activated next and only medium moved twice to get herself back here to the far side of the portal that started closest to where the Asgardians deployed. Reason for that was it frees up Thor to go do stuff. It does mean they're essentially wasting an activation because they're not doing any attacks or anything like that, but they're pretty sturdy and can take it, and if need be fall back on Odin's Blessing because they're sitting on enough, all of them I think are sitting on enough power to use it. So she's just getting out of the way to stop Magic trying to jump her for the core she's holding, and even though Thor's got a core as well, it does mean he can kind of get let loose and hopefully do some damage. Oh sorry, Thor does not have a core, it was Angela I was thinking of, sorry. So even more reason for him to just get stuck in. Wolverine activated for the Hellfire Club and shook his stun for his first action. Then he and Colossus both coughed up 1 power in order to do a fastball special. So Wolverine gets thrown as normal when his adamantium scale means he counts as size 3, and he doesn't take damage from the collision, and the target rolls 2 fewer dice than normal, and they also suffer bleed, which I actually forgot. So the bleed will be on Scourge as well. It would have done 4 damage, so Scourge brought that down to 1 by playing Odin's Blessing on that to force Wolverine to use another, or to use his actual action to try and finish him off. So Odin's Blessing is gone now as well. So for his 1 and only action after shaking that stun, Wolverine just did his Adamantium Slash. Had 1 success, it was a pierce to be fair, but Scourge also rolled no successes, so that 1 damage went through as well. So Scourge is up to 5 damage, 1 left on him. He actually did stay standing, so a bit of a waste for the resources used there, I think. Angela activated for the Asgardians and she moved up long to get within range 2 of Emma Frost, and then used her Ziphus Sword of the Stars. 6 dice physical. Normal Emma Frost only has 2 physical defense, so she spent 1 to change into her diamond form. So you put the diamond form in range, and her physical defense goes up to 4. So that meant that the Ziphos Sword of the Stars only did 1 damage, although she's then allowed to place within 2 of the targets. So she placed herself here, contesting the portal there, and within distance of the big tree that was there, spent 2 on Odin's Daughter's Might, picked up the huge tree, we count them as size 3 because they are a bit oversized compared to the characters, chucked it at Emma, and that did 3 damage. So a little bit sore. In her healthy side, or on her healthy side rather, she has 6 health, so she only has 2 left, but she does have a lot of power to play with. She stays in diamond form until such time as she activates, and when her activation ends, she automatically reverts back. So Emma Frost did activate, and we'll talk about those dice sitting there in a second. However, just as a comment for a better tactic that could have been done there, I figured changing to diamond form and getting those 4 defense dice would have been enough to have an okay dodge, but what she absolutely should have done instead was just spend 2 on telekinetic deflection, which means she takes no damage from a collision. That was just a misplay. Not going back to correct it because it was a misplay. It wasn't like, picking the wrong thing. So in hindsight, obviously, yes, she absolutely should have just deflected all the damage for 2 instead of trying to dodge on 3 or 4, whatever. Because I don't think Incinerate takes away dodge dice from what I remember. I think that was the ruling. Either way, doesn't matter, she still got hurt by it. So anyway, it did give her enough power though that in her diamond form she could do her massive attack called Shatter. Area 2, 7 or 8 dice Mystic with Pierce. That's the attack roll for it. Oh, 2, 4, 6, yeah, so it was 7 dice then. That's the roll for it there. 1 success, no pierces, Angela blocked the damage, and she's also forced to turn back at that point if you do Shatter, so you can't do her other attack that she has in Diamond form. She did have another action though. She did a Psionic Spike and didn't keep the roll for that one. There was one success that got through for 1 damage. There was no wilds, so still couldn't bend will to get Angela off that point. Just, it's new model, like new model syndrome either is the new models on the table die instantly and do nothing, or they just roll below par and it feels like they're worthless. And Emma Frost is sadly the latter in this situation. Second last activation for the Asgardians, Thor activated and he spent all 3 power he had on a for Asgard, so he moved up medium to here and then did a basic strike on Colossus. He got the throw with a wild and chucked him afterwards at Emma Frost. He did 3 damage, reduced it down to, oh no sorry, he did 1 damage, and then threw him. The impact does 1 damage, so that's where the first 2 came from. Emma, this time, smartly spent 2 on telekinetic deflection, so she didn't have to try and dodge Colossus being flung into her, and just kind of boinged him out of the way. And then with the 1 power he generated from the damage he did from the actual strike, Thor immediately spent it on a hammer throw, chucked the hammer at Colossus. It also would have shocked him, but there's no need to put it down because it did 3 damage, reduced to 2, so the Incinerate is also gone now as well, because Colossus is dazed. He dropped the power core he was holding. Thor has no power to pick it up, so it is next to him there. Heimdall could technically pick it up, but not Psylocke. Magic could absolutely just get in there and grab it instead. Well, with Colossus going down before he had a chance to activate, Magic was the only other option. She's the last action, or activation rather, in Battle Round 2 for the Hellfire Club. That does mean that the Asgardians have given up first activation next turn. Magic didn't have any power on her because Emma Frost took it, so she moved in and had to do some damage. She did her Soul Sword range 2 5 dice Mystic on Scourge and managed to do 3 damage to him, which is actually enough that he's dazed, though he has already activated, but he'll be flipping his card. And with the 1 power she got, because he only had 1 health left, she spent that to pick up the power core, so she is holding it, and it is over to Heimdall now to end off the round entirely. So Heimdall did originally have a bit of a sneaky plan. He was going to move in to contest the middle and then teleport Scourge close enough to also be contesting via the Bifrost. But can't do that now because Scourge is dazed, so instead he used the Bifrost on himself for 3 power, placed himself within 2, moved medium, and that got him down here. He then did his basic 5 dice physical strike on Emma Frost. She had 1 power left and she spent it to turn into diamond form again. And it's lucky she did, because that 4 defense dice, oh wait, it should have been 3 defense dice. Forgot she was incinerated. Too late to go back now. The attack roll was rubbish, so I don't think it would make a difference, but it's not still sitting, it's been moved. Don't quite remember, but forgot the incinerate. Either way, she didn't take any damage, so she is standing, and I guess it might matter for the next turn. But in terms for this round, because Colossus is dazed, it does mean even though Heimdall didn't take her out, they still have control of that portal thanks to Angela being there. We'll cover all that though as we go over scoring, because the power cores are also going to have to do some stuff. So then in Battle Round 2, Colossus is going to be flipping over his card, as is Scourge. The power cores though, let's handle that first, because it actually happens in the cleanup phase, not the power phase of the following turn. So Angela's did not explode. She had 3 or more power. She has exactly 3 currently. So did Valkyrie. Hers did not explode. Rolled out for Magic's, and it did explode, which would have done 1 damage to her, Psylocke, Wolverine, and Thor, and then realised, oh, actually, she doesn't have any power, she tapped it all. So, undid that, but it would have done a lot of damage to everybody. Those who are within 1 of a portal that weren't already on fire is now on fire, so that's Magic, Psylocke, Angela, Heimdall, I think that's it. Points-wise, the Asgardians have 2 power cores, on Angela and Valkyrie, as just said. They also hold 2 portals, both of the end ones. So they gained 4, taking them up to 7. The Hellfire Club has the other power core on Magic, and they are holding the centre still. So they gain 2 victory points, taking them to 5. So 5 plays 7. The Asgardians have lost first activation. It's the Hellfire Club going first in round 3. So the Hellfire Club started Battle Round 3 with a bang. Emma Frost activated. She was in her diamond form, and that meant she had access to her diamond form attacks. She did 2 diamond strikes on Angela, which is just her basic strike in the diamond form. It does have pierce on wilds, or maybe crits. I think it was crits. Either way. She did 1 on Angela, got 1 damage through, that's fine. Then the second one, that spiked pretty hard and did 4. By that point it only needed to do 3 to take her out, or actually maybe even 2. So either way, Angela did go down, the Incinerate obviously helping, with her only rolling 3 defense dice as opposed to the 4-4-4 she usually has. Emma has to turn back from diamond form at the end of her turn though, so she has. She's still incinerated as well, but she did pay 1 to pick up the power core that Angela dropped. And right away in her third battle round, she opted to make use of the Hellfire Club affiliation bonus. Everybody is contesting or holding an objective, so everybody healed 1 and gained 1 power. Except her, unfortunately. She only gains it if she steals it from someone else, but that does mean Magic's only got 1 damage on her. Let's see, Psylocke's at full health now, and Wolverine and Colossus have a ton of power to play with. Thor was first up for the Asgardians this turn, and he started with doing a basic strike on Magic and got more bang for his buck than he was expecting. First really big spike of the game, there was 3 crits in there. 5 damage, much more than was required that she is dazed. He paid 1 to pick up the power core she had, so he's now holding on to that. He also paid 1 for the Asgardian bonus just to get rid of the Incinerate. Yes, it's probably going to apply, or will apply at the end of the turn unless he's dazed. But at least it means he's not rolling 1 less defense dice for the remainder of the turn. He then paid for a For Asgard and charged down here and attacked Emma Frost. She paid 1 to go diamond form again, and it saved her. She took 2 and she lived on 1 HP. And that was with the Incinerate kept in mind. So she's still there. Even if he'd taken her out, he wouldn't be able to hold her core either. But it does mean that Heimdall's got a chance unless Colossus is able to do something spectacular. Well, it took a lot of burning of power, but he was able to eventually do something to Heimdall. So Colossus activated, he immediately spent 3 on X-Slam, 7 dice physical with a stagger on a wild and a built-in stun. He did 2 damage without the stagger to Heimdall. It's not limited to once per turn or anything like that, so he spent another 3 power, he was sitting on 10, to do another one. This one spiked, can't quite see the damage there. It did 5. It would have done the stagger, but it doesn't matter, because Heimdall is dazed, from full to dazed in 2 X-Slams. That used up both his actions though, so he's not moving. Heimdall wasn't holding a power core, it was just to stop him taking out Emma and grabbing hers. So they're relatively safe down there now with Angela dazed as well. Yes, Thor is there, but he's already activated. So really it just now becomes what happens up this end of the table. Second last activation for the Asgardians was Scourge. He spent on the Executioner and did it into Psylocke. Did consider using Weapons of Midgard because it was catch Wolverine as well, but it's less dice and didn't want to feed Wolverine power because he hasn't activated yet. So he did that on Psylocke and it spiked pretty hard. It did 6 damage and took her out. For his other action, he just did a move. He is contesting the middle, so that means if Wolverine goes after Valkyrie, he is leaving the middle to Scourge because Magic and Psylocke are down. And it puts him in a better position to help out down here. Doesn't matter what end of the table the Asgardians are holding, if they're holding one end and they're already ahead, it's enough to take them to the finish line. So that seemed like the best bet for him, and it is over to Wolverine I believe, because he is the only one on their side that hasn't activated. Yep. Wolverine started by spending 3 on the best at what I do, a move followed by an adamantium slash with a pierce. It did 4 damage to Valkyrie. He then wanted to guarantee she went down, so he spent on the Berserker Barrage, did 5, actually I think it was 6, it doesn't matter. Either way, obviously much more than was required, so Valkyrie won't be activating, so we actually are at the end of the round now. She dropped a core, Wolverine has paid 1 to pick it up, and he's staying put, right there holding the back portal. So I forgot to mention when Psylocke went down, she is spending 3 on a tactics card that will come into effect when she flips her card over at the top of the next round. We'll cover that at the top of the next round. So at the end of battle round 3, we can cover the scores real quick. So the Asgardians, they only hold 1 of the power cores now, it's the one Thor's holding for 1 VP, and Scourge held the central portal, so they gained 2, taking them up to 9. Now, because of the way the power cores are working, in the cleanup phase you check to see whether or not any of them burst out with energy if you have 3 or more power. Thor didn't have 3 or more power, so his wasn't in any danger of doing that. However, the one Wolverine was holding did explode, so he hurt himself for 1. Wouldn't catch anyone else because everyone else around him is dazed. But Emma Frost's also exploded, meaning that she hit Thor for 1. Actually, it's going to catch Colossus as well. Colossus for 1 as well, I'll just put that there to remind me. And herself for 1, which means she dazes in the cleanup phase. But I believe the scoring happens at the same time, so the scoring for the portals will still count as if she was alive on her healthy side, because that one was actually a draw because she and Thor were both on their healthy side. It does mean that she's flipping her card now, so she'll be dazed as we go into the next turn. She'll get an action because she flips it now, but she did manage to self-daze, so the power core will be getting dropped on the table in a second. We'll cover that at the top of battle round 4. Forgot to put down an Incinerate, I think, on... oh no, yes, on Colossus and Scourge. They will both be on fire. I think that covered everything. A lot of stuff happening simultaneously in that cleanup phase there. Oh, didn't cover the Hellfire Club's scoring. They hold the other 2 power cores for 2, and they hold this portal for 1. So they got up to 8. So 8 plays 9, going into round 4. So here's the table at the top of Battle Round 4, and the Asgardians are taking first activation again, thanks to Wolverine taking out Valkyrie before she could activate. But here is the card that is being played by the Hellfire Club, specifically Psylocke. It's called Crimson Dawn. So when an allied Psylocke flips her card, so which she just did, to the injured side, she can spend 3, and she gains this passive for the remainder of the game. At the beginning of this character's activation, and after each of its actions, she can move 1, so just kind of like shadow stepping. So when she activates, after each of her 2 actions, she can place herself within 1, and she also heals 1 at the end of her actions, at the end of her full turn, with healing factor 1. Well, you'll notice the battlefield has shifted ever so slightly with the start of Battle Round 4. Angela activated. From where she stood, she started with a Heaven's Wrath, 3 power, 4 dice physical, but you add on dice equal to the size of the target. She went into Colossus, so he's size 3, so it became 7 dice. At the same time, also with Heimdall, he paid 2 for All-Seeing Eye to give her 2 rerolls. She was trying really hard to get the cleave. She didn't in the end. Still managed to do 5 damage from 6, because we're just down to 1 because of his organic skin, or organic metal. Not enough to take him out though. So then, she did a Zephyr's Sword of the Stars. Actually, you know what? That was 2 separate attacks. I was thinking that was too high for how much was done. It was 4 down to 3. Then she did her basic attack, which is Zephyr's Sword of the Stars. It was 3 down to 2. Still standing, he's got 7 health on his flip side, but that lets her get placed within 2 of him, so she placed herself there, just at the apex of range 2, within range 2 of the big size 4 house there. She paid 2 for Odin's Daughter's Might to pick it up and chuck it into him. He whiffed his dodge roll and took 5, which is more than enough. That pro Colossus, who never quite lives up to his threat value, is out of there, not getting a turn, and is defeated. She's still holding on to one of the power cores. She gave up her position helping to try and claim this, although currently Thor is the only healthy character there and he's only got 1 damage on him, so shouldn't matter too much. But with Colossus removed, options are somewhat or more limited for the Hellfire Club. Well, for the Hellfire Club, Emma Frost activated and she went all in on trying to take Thor out. She spent a total of 8 power across 2 hands off. That's her 8 dice Mystic big spender on her non-diamond form side. On a wild, it gets Defenstrate, so if it's size 4 or less, you can chuck them small, or is it? Yeah, small. Well, actually, you know what? I just read that it's a way small. So in that case, her throwing him into Heimdall would not have happened, because I don't think that's quite the right angle, so he'd actually just get chucked over here. It doesn't make any difference to what happened to him, it just means Heimdall does not have 1 damage on him, which is fine. First one did 3 without the throw, so she did another one. That one did 2 with the throw. He'd already been taken out, but the throw happens before damage is dealt. So actually, you know what, he might have just been hit into, yeah, that angle is such that he would get pushed into Scourge instead. We'll say he took the 1 damage rather than doing the roll again, because his defense is, well actually no, he would have had 1 more defense die. You know what, rather than have to roll it out, he'll just take the 1, just to save rolling it out. So Emma did manage to take Thor down. He is dazed and he dropped his power core, but she had nothing left to pick it up. Oh, actually, he would. Yeah, if he throws her over there, he's going to have to drop it over there, because originally she was dropping it over here, so someone would have to come down here. Well, no choice now. It's going to be like out in the wild over here, I guess. Somewhere there. We'll measure it out properly in a second. Heimdall activated for the Asgardians, spent 3 to teleport himself with the Bifrost over to where that power cord did end up. He paid 1 to pick it up. And then for his actual actions, he moved 1, or used 1 to move, rather, medium, back to where he was, and tried to take advantage of Emma Frost having no power to diamond form herself out of taking lots of damage from physical attacks, because out of diamond form she only has 2 defense dice for physical attacks. But he whiffed. He whiffed with his 5 dice physical strike. She fully blocked the 2 hits it would have done, and he did no damage. So now that is even on that portal, because they're both on their flip side. In fact, everyone now with Thor dazed is flipped on the Asgardian side. Wolverine's the only one on the Hellfire Club side that isn't flipped. Psylocke activated for the Hellfire Club, and with that new passive she can certainly move. So when she activates, she can move within 1, or place herself within 1. She did so. Then she spent 3 on her big spender range 3 Psionic Assault, I think it's called. 7 dice Mystic and a built-in stun. She did it on Valkyrie, did 3 damage and that stun there. She then moved forward another 1 because she did an action. For her other action, she just did her Telekinetic Katana, I think it's called, her basic attack. You can choose whether it's energy or mystic. That also did 3 damage to Valkyrie, so Valkyrie is out of there. And the Hellfire Club are now very safely securing that back objective there between the two of them. Because even if Scourge goes over there, they've still got the Wolverine being healthy and at full health, so that's pretty safe over there now. We're already to the final activation of the round for the Asgardians, thanks to Thor being dazed. It was Scourge, and he had a really good turn. He spent on the Executioner again, that's what they get for constantly beating him up, and he did it on magic and managed to spike for 5 damage, so he just got her from full to 0. She's only got 5 on her flip side, so she is actually out of there and will not be getting an activation. For his other action, he moved Medium down here, so that, oh, I forgot to mention, but during his action, Heimdall spent 2 on All-Seeing Eye again to give him 2 rerolls. He moved down here so that him and Heimdall now outnumber Emma, so they are holding that back portal. With magic being removed like that, it means that we're already to the final activation of the turn, and it is Wolverine. It was very much a repeat turn for Wolverine. He did a I'm the best at what I do, rather, for a move and Adamantium Slash. Did really well. Did 3 damage on Angela with the bleed on a wild as well. He had a couple of pierces. And then he tried to finish her off by spending the 3 power gained from that on Berserker Barrage, and that whiffed. It whiffed hard. So no damage done there. She's got 7 health on her flip side, so 4 left, and that takes us to the end of the round. So then about round 4 of the 3 power chords, 1 exploded. It was the one Angela was holding, so she, Wolverine and Scourge have all taken 1 damage. The other 2 did not, well, the other 2 didn't explode, only one of them had to be rolled for because Wolverine does not have enough power to do the roll. Score-wise, the Asgardians have 2 of the power chords, 1 on Heimdall, 1 on Angela. They hold the back portal here, so they gained a total of 3, taking them to 12. The Hellfire Club, they've got the other power core for 1, they hold both these portals for 1 each, so for a total of 3, taking them up to 11. So they've actually caught up, they're only behind by 1, so we are going to have to go into Battle Room 5 and see, because this is a close one. Well, rough start for the Hellfire Club in Battle Round 5. Asgardians had first activation, Angela activated, she immediately spent 1 on the Asgardian affiliation bonus to get rid of that bleed. She then spent 1 on a Blade of Ichor, range 4, 5 dice energy, and as long as she gets a wild, she can move towards the target small before damage is dealt. She did that on Emma Frost. Emma did not Diamond Form at that point, because I don't believe her energy defense changes, so didn't do that, took 2 damage as a result. Then, now that she was moved towards her small, nice and close, Angela just unleashed her basic Sword of the Stars, 6 dice physical, range 2. At that point, Emma paid to Diamond Form to get the 4 dice down to 3 because of the Incinerate. It did not help. She took 4 damage, and Emma is out of there. That is her gone from the table. Now, I couldn't do it in the turn prior to showing all that happening, but Angela is also paying 3 on Rainbow Bridge. No one else is bothering. This is just purely to get her out of Wolverine range, or to make it harder for Wolverine to get to her. So she's spending 3 to be placed within 3. She's literally just going around this side of the portal just within 1, just so it's really hard for Wolverine to try and to get at her right there. So that is rough, but the Hellfire Club leader is gone. So the Hellfire Club opted to pass because they had 2 activations left to the 3 the Asgardians have now that Emma's off the table. And the reason for that was if Wolverine can stay standing through someone trying to smack him, he'll just heal it on his turn, and he's the only healthy character left on the table, so that gives him a lot of control over objectives. So Thor activated, and immediately spent on Strongest Avenger to pick up Wolverine and chuck him over there. No damage from that particular throw. Then he moved ever so slightly, just to force the issue of being within 1 of the middle portal. Then he chucked his hammer at Wolverine, got him for 2, and applied the shock. So Wolverine probably ain't getting to Angela. He can still take advantage of the fact he's on his healthy side, but it's him or Psylocke now. Well, Wolverine did activate. He moved Medium, and then he made use of the best at what I do for a medium move plus attack into Heimdall, just because he's the weakest one holding a power core over here. Bit of a whiff, only did 1 damage. He was rolling 1 less defense die, or well, 1 less defense die, 1 less attack die. Didn't manage to do much. Healed 2 though, so he's only got 1 damage on him, which means he has 6 health. So now the decision for Heimdall and Scourge is, can they do 6 damage to Wolverine, or should they just abandon that portal, try for claiming or securing some of the other ones? I'm going to have to think carefully, because Psylocke, thanks to that passive she has, can move from up there all the way down if she wanted to. She could definitely do that. She doesn't necessarily even need to attack. Wolverine is holding that if he doesn't get shifted. He's the only healthy character there. So you need to have a think. A solution was found thanks to Heimdall having 3 power. He was able to use Horfound, or is that what it's called? Horfund? His spender. 3 power, 7 dice physical, and as long as it does damage, he pushes the target away small, and thankfully he did it just enough. He did 1 damage to Logan, able to push him away small, meaning he's not claiming anything, and he moved as his other action just to try and make sure Psylocke doesn't get him. I think with that, even without Scourge activating, no matter what Psylocke does, I don't think she can stop the Asgardians getting to exactly 16. We'll need to see. So looking at old Psylocke's options, she could try and force an action, but with Scourge still to go, at best what she could do is give up holding that point, move into the middle so that she's contesting it. That means it's even, no one scores it. That would mean if things stayed like that, the Asgardians would only score 3, it would force a round 6. Scourge hasn't activated yet. He could come over here, 2 versus 1, all on flip side, so they would still claim the point. She would have to move to attack anyone. She could go after Thor. He's got 8 health on his day's side. He's at full health. She's not taking him out with 1 power, so we're just going to call it there because there's no move she can make that will change the outcome. So just to make it official, if things stay the way they are, or yeah, we'll keep them as they are because there's no point her moving as just stayed. The Hellfire Club does earn 2, 1 for the Power Core and Wolverine, 1 for the portal that Psylocke is claiming, meaning that they get a healthy 13. But with the other 2 cores and those 2 portals, that takes the Asgardians exactly to the 16 required to win. So that was an interesting first showing for the Hellfire Club. They did get a little bit unlucky in the early game, although so did the Asgardians, honestly. The first 2 turns, almost every roll was garbage. Just the way it goes, although at least it was evened out between both sides this time. Colossus kind of let the side down. He's not that great, but, you know, tried to stick with the X-Men theme, even though it was Hellfire Club. Emma Frost herself, once she gets a lot of power to play with, she is quite scary. Shatter didn't really seem to work up to the amount of power spent on it, on her diamond form, but her spender on her non-diamond form side is really good, really powerful, especially because most characters aren't that great against mystic attacks. So I think she actually excels on that side, and going to diamond form is a bit of a letdown, but I guess that's why you have to do it if you worry about getting attacked, because she's got that 2 physical defense, which is not good. Either way, we'll require more testing in the future. That is going to do it for this time though. I sincerely hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to show your support. And if you would like to go above and beyond supporting what we do here on the channel, consider becoming a channel member or pressing the thanks button. It helps out a lot and is reinvested in the channel. On that note, a friend did actually donate to the channel specifically to pick up the Scientist Supreme MODOK for the models we cover. So MODOK will be appearing at some point in the future. I'm not sure when, but he will be here at some point. And with that, thank you for watching. Ta-ta for now.